High Counselor Jadwa stood at the large window of her office, looking out at the busy spaceport of Galactic Central. Ships of all sizes and shapes moved slowly through the air, carrying people and goods from hundreds of different worlds. She sighed, feeling both proud and bored. For over 1,000 years, the Galactic Council had kept peace among the stars. Wars were a thing of the past. Every planet that joined the Council agreed to follow the same rules. They shared technology and helped each other. It all worked very well. But sometimes, Jaehwa thought it worked too well. Nothing ever changed. Every day was the same as the last. She turned away from the window and walked back to her desk. Another day of meetings about trade routes and colony planets waited for her. As she sat down, her assistant Gaisu came in. "High Counselor, the meeting about the new mining colony is ready to start," he said. Jaehwa nodded and stood up. "Thank you, Jaisu. Let's go hear about rocks and minerals for the next 2 hours," she said with a small smile. Far away from Galactic Central, Captain Taeyong of the patrol ship Zephyr was also bored. His ship flew slowly along the edge of Council space, looking for pirates or lost ships. But they never found any. Pirates knew better than to attack Council ships, and no one got lost anymore thanks to the Council's mapping systems. "Anything on the scanners, Do-Yun?" Taeyong asked his sensor officer. Do-Yun shook her head. "Nothing, Captain. Just empty space, same as yesterday." Taeyong nodded and leaned back in his chair. He sometimes wondered why they even bothered with these patrols. Nothing ever happened out here. Back on Galactic Central, the Council meeting was going just as Jaehwa expected. Representatives from 20 different planets argued about who should get to mine the new colony first. Some wanted metals, others wanted crystals. They all had good reasons, but none of them were exciting. Jaehwa listened to them talk, adding a comment here and there to keep the peace. This was what being High Counselor was all about, making sure everyone got along and no one felt left out. As the meeting went on, Jaehwa's mind wandered. She thought about the early days of the Council, when new species were still being discovered. Those were exciting times, full of new ideas and strange cultures. Now, it felt like they had met everyone there was to meet in the galaxy. Suddenly, alarms started blaring throughout the Council building. Jaehwa sat up straight, her heart beating fast. This never happened. What could be wrong? A young aide ran into the room, his face pale. "High Counselor, we've received an emergency message from the Border Patrol." Jaehwa stood up quickly. "What is it?" "Pirates. An accident." The aide shook his head. "No, High Counselor. It's a new ship. A type we've never seen before. It just appeared out of nowhere." The room went silent. Everyone stared at the aide, then at Jaehwa. She took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "Show me," she said. On the big screen at the front of the room, an image appeared. It showed a massive ship, unlike anything Jaehwa had ever seen. It was dark and powerful looking, with strange markings on its side. "Where did it come from?" Jaehwa asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "We don't know," the aide said. Captain Taeyong of the Zephyr reported that it just appeared, like it came out of thin air. Jaehwa stared at the image, her mind racing. After 1,000 years of peace and quiet, something new and unknown had arrived. Part of her was scared, but another part felt a spark of excitement she hadn't felt in years. "Send a message to all Council worlds," she said, her voice growing stronger. "Tell them to be ready for anything. And get me a direct link to Captain Taeyong. We need to know everything about this new ship." As the room burst into action around her, Jaehwa kept her eyes on the strange ship on the screen. Whatever happened next, she knew one thing for sure. The time of boring meetings and quiet patrols was over. A new age was beginning for the Galactic Council, whether they were ready for it or not. Captain Taeyong of the patrol ship Zephyr couldn't believe his eyes. One moment, the space in front of his ship was empty. The next, a huge, strange ship appeared out of nowhere. Du Yun, what are you seeing on the scanners? Taeyong asked, his voice shaky. Du Yun's fingers flew over her control panel. Captain, I don't understand. The ship is there, but our systems can't make sense of it. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. Taeyong stood up and walked closer to the main view screen. The ship was dark and sleek, with strange markings along its side. It looked powerful and a little scary. Try to talk to them, Taeyong ordered. Use all the standard greeting protocols. The communication officer, a young man named Hangil, nodded and got to work. For several tense minutes, he sent out message after message in different languages and formats. No response, Captain, Hangil said, looking worried. They're not answering any of our calls. Taeyong frowned. This was not good. Every known species in the galaxy knew to answer council hails. It was one of the first things new members learned. Keep trying, he said, and send a message to Galactic Central. They need to know about this right away. As the Zephyr's crew worked, the strange ship just sat there, silent and still. Taeyong couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched and studied. Back on Galactic Central, High Counselor HFY had called an emergency meeting. The room was packed with representatives from all the major council worlds. What we're dealing with, HFY said, her voice calm but firm, is a completely unknown ship that appeared on the edge of our space without warning. So far, they have not responded to any of our attempts to communicate. The room erupted in worried chatter. This had never happened before. The council had thought they knew about every spacefaring race in the galaxy. Could it be a new type of pirate ship? Asked one representative. HFY shook her head. Unlikely. The technology seems far beyond anything we've seen, even from the most advanced council worlds. Then, could it be aliens from another galaxy? Another rev asked, his voice filled with awe and fear. Before HFY could answer, the door burst open. It was Gai Su, HFY's assistant, looking out of breath. High Counselor, we've just received a new report from the Zephyr. The unknown ship, it's moving. Everyone turned to look at the large screen on the wall. They watched as the strange ship slowly turned towards the Zephyr. On board the Zephyr, Taeyong and his crew were getting nervous. Captain, they're facing us now, Du Yun reported. But I still can't get any clear readings on their systems or weapons. Taeyong took a deep breath. He had to make a decision. Send one more message, he said. Tell them we mean no harm, but we need to know their intentions. Hangil nodded and sent the message. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then suddenly, a bright light appeared on the front of the alien ship. Captain, Du Yun shouted. Energy spike. There. Before she could finish, a beam of light shot out from the alien ship. It missed the Zephyr by mere meters, lighting up space around them. Evasive maneuvers, Taeyong yelled. The Zephyr jerked to the side as another beam just missed them. Back in the council chamber, everyone watched in horror as the Zephyr dodged beam after beam from the alien ship. We have to help them, someone shouted. HFY nodded grimly. Send in all nearby patrol ships and alert the defense fleet. We need to protect our people. As orders were sent out, HFY couldn't help but wonder, who were these newcomers, and why had they attacked without warning? On the alien ship, Commander Su-jin of the UES Thunderchild watched the small patrol ship dance away from their warning shots. Looks like they got the message, she said to her weapons officer. Hold fire unless they shoot back. Su-jin stared at the strange alien ship on her screen. It was so small, so fragile-looking compared to the Thunderchild. These aliens had no idea what they were dealing with. Send the message again, she ordered. Let's see if they're ready to talk now. As the Thunderchild's powerful transmitters came to life, Su-jin allowed herself a small smile. Humanity's first contact with alien life wasn't going quite as planned. But that was okay. They were here now, and the galaxy would never be the same. Commander Su-jin stood on the bridge of the UES Thunderchild, watching the alien ship on the main screen. It was so small compared to her massive warship. She felt a mix of excitement and worry. This was humanity's first contact with aliens, and it wasn't going smoothly. "Any response to our message?" Su-Jin asked her communications officer. "Not yet, Commander," the officer replied. They seemed to be waiting for something. Su-Jin nodded. She understood their caution. If she were in their place, she'd be scared too. As she waited, Su-Jin thought back to the day she got this mission. It was only 6 months ago, but it felt like a lifetime. Su-Jin sat in a big room full of important-looking people. They were all there to hear about Earth's biggest secret. Humans could now travel faster than light. Admiral Kim, a stern-faced woman, stood up to speak. "For the past 50 years, she said, we've been working on this in secret. Now, we're ready to go out into the galaxy." Su-Jin listened in awe as the Admiral explained how they did it. Earth's scientists had found a way to bend space itself, letting ships jump huge distances in no time. But Admiral Kim said, her voice getting serious, "We don't know what's out there. We need to be ready for anything." "That's where you come in, Commander Su-Jin." Su-Jin sat up straighter. This was it, the reason she was here. "You'll command our first deep space mission," the Admiral said. "Your job is to make peaceful contact with any aliens you find, but if they turn out to be hostile..." She paused, looking Su-Jin in the eye. "You'll need to defend Earth and humanity." Su-Jin felt the weight of this responsibility settle on her shoulders. It was exciting and terrifying at the same time. Back on the Thunderchild, Su-Jin's memories were interrupted by her sensor officer's shout. "Commander, more ships are coming. Lots of them." Su-Jin looked at the screen. Sure enough, dozens of small ships were appearing around the first one. "Looks like they called for backup," Su-Jin said. She turned to her crew. "Remember your training. We're here to make friends, but we'll defend ourselves if we have to." Just then, a message came through. It was from the aliens. "They're asking who we are and what we want," the communications officer said. Su-Jin took a deep breath. This was the moment she'd been preparing for. "Tell them we are humans from the planet Earth," she said. "We come in peace and wish to establish friendly relations." As the message was sent, Su-Jin thought about the long journey that brought them here. The Thunderchild had traveled further than any human ship before. They had seen amazing things, beautiful nebulas, strange star systems, and now their first aliens. But it hadn't been easy. The crew had faced dangers they never expected. Space storms that could tear a ship apart, strange radiation that made people sick, and the loneliness of being so far from home. Through it all, Su-Jin had kept her crew focused on their mission. They were explorers, scientists, and if needed, warriors. They carried the hopes and dreams of all humanity with them. Now, as they waited for the aliens' response, Su-Jin felt proud of her crew and her ship. The Thunderchild was the best Earth had to offer. Its hull was made of materials stronger than anything on Earth. Its weapons could destroy a small moon, and its computers could think faster than 1,000 human brains. But Su-Jin hoped they wouldn't need any of that. She wanted this first meeting to be peaceful. She wanted to learn about these aliens, to share knowledge and become friends. As the aliens' reply came in, Su-Jin held her breath. Whatever happened next would change the course of human history forever. She just hoped it would be a change for the better. "Commander," the communications officer said. "They're responding. They want to talk." Su-Jin smiled. It wasn't the smoothest first contact, but it was a start. "Okay," she said, "let's introduce humanity to the galaxy." The news of the alien ship spread fast. Soon, every member of the Galactic Council knew about it. High Counselor HFY called for an emergency meeting. Representatives from all council worlds rushed to the great meeting hall. HFY stood at the front of the room. She looked tired but determined. "Friends," she said, "we face a situation unlike any in our history. An unknown ship has entered our space. They have technology we don't understand. We must decide how to respond." The room filled with worried voices. Some wanted to attack the alien ship. Others wanted to run and hide. It was chaos. Jaguar raised her hands for quiet. "We have always solved our problems with words, not weapons," she said. "We will try to talk to these newcomers." She turned to a small, kind-looking woman. "Yunji, you are our best diplomat. Will you speak to these aliens for us?" Yunji stood up. She looked nervous, but nodded. "I will do my best, High Counselor." Meanwhile, on the Thunderchild, Commander Sujin was preparing for the meeting. She chose her words carefully. She wanted to make a good first impression. Back in the council meeting room, Yunji sat at a special desk. It had screens and speakers to talk with the aliens. Jaehua and the other council members watched nervously. Yunji took a deep breath and pressed a button. "This is Diplomat Yunji of the Galactic Council," she said. "We welcome you to our space and wish to talk peacefully." On the Thunderchild, Sujin heard the message. She smiled. This was a good start. She pressed her own button to reply. "This is Commander Sujin of the UES Thunderchild," she said. "We come from Earth and wish to establish friendly relations." In the council room, everyone leaned forward to listen. Yunji nodded and continued. "We are glad to meet you, Commander Sujin. We have many questions. First, how did you arrive here without using our jump gates?" Sujin paused. She knew this answer might cause problems. "We have our own way to travel fast," she said carefully. "Our scientists developed it recently." Yunji looked surprised. She turned to Jaehua, who nodded for her to keep talking. "That's very interesting," Yunji said. "We would love to learn more about your technology." Sujin felt uncomfortable. She had orders not to share too much about Earth's tech. "We're happy to discuss many things," she said, "but some of our technology must remain secret for now." This caused a stir in the council room. Many representatives started whispering to each other. Jaehua frowned. Yunji tried to keep things friendly. "We understand," she said. "Perhaps we could discuss other topics. Tell us about your home world." Sujin began to talk about Earth. She described its oceans and mountains, its many cultures and languages. But as she talked, she noticed the aliens seemed more and more upset. In the council room, Jaehua was getting worried. Everything this Commander Sujin said went against what they knew about developing worlds. How could such an advanced ship come from a planet that sounded so primitive? Yunji sensed the growing tension. She decided to ask a direct question. "Commander, forgive me, but we're confused. You have very advanced technology, yet you describe a world that seems quite young. How is this possible?" Sujin realized she had said too much. She tried to explain. "Well, you see, we developed very quickly. Our history is complicated." But her words only made things worse. In the council room, representatives were now shouting. Some thought the humans were lying. Others thought they must be dangerous. Jaehua tried to calm everyone down, but it was too late. The meeting was turning into a disaster. On the Thunderchild, Sujin saw more and more alien ships appearing on her screens. They were moving into attack positions. "Commander," her sensor officer said, "they're powering up weapons." Sujin's heart sank. This was exactly what she had hoped to avoid. But she had to protect her ship and crew. "Shields up," she ordered. "Prepare for defensive action." As both sides got ready for a fight, Sujin and Jaehua had the same thought. How had it all gone so wrong, so fast? The space around the Thunderchild lit up with energy beams. The Galactic Council ships had opened fire. Commander Sujin gripped her chair tightly as her ship shook. "Shields holding at 95%, reported her defense officer. "Their weapons are strong, but not as strong as ours." Sujin nodded. She didn't want to fight, but she had to protect her crew. "Return fire," she ordered. "Aim for their weapons. Try not to destroy their ships." The Thunderchild's advanced targeting systems locked onto the Council ships. With pinpoint accuracy, it fired back. Bright beams of energy shot out, hitting the Council ship's weapon arrays. On board the Zephyr, Captain Tai Yong watched in amazement. The human ship was moving faster than anything he had ever seen. It dodged most of the Council's attacks, and its return fire was incredibly precise. How are they doing that? Tai Yong wondered aloud. He had never felt so outmatched in his life. Back on Galactic Central, High Counselor HFY was getting frantic reports. "Our ships can't hit them," one aide shouted. "And when they fire back, they're only damaging our weapons. They could destroy us, but they're not." HFY's mind raced. This wasn't how advanced races were supposed to act. The humans were too powerful, too skilled. It didn't make sense. On the Thunderchild, Su Jin was trying to end the fight quickly. "Target their engines," she told her weapons officer. "If we can stop them from moving, maybe they'll stop shooting." The Thunderchild's weapons fired again. This time, they hit the engines of several Council ships. The ships started to drift, unable to maneuver. Captain Tai Yong felt his ship go still. The engines were dead. He looked at his crew, seeing fear in their eyes. "Send a message," he said quietly. Tell them we surrender." Similar messages started coming in from other Council ships. One by one, they stopped firing. Su Jin let out a sigh of relief. "Cease fire," she ordered. Then she turned to her communications officer. "Send a message to their leaders. Tell them we're sorry for the fight, but we had to defend ourselves. Ask them if they're ready to talk again." In the Council chamber, HFY received the message. She looked around at the scared and angry faces of the representatives. Some wanted to keep fighting. Others wanted to run away. But HFY knew they had to be smart. "We will talk," she said firmly. "We need to understand these humans. They're too powerful to ignore." As the battle ended, both sides took stock of what had happened. The Council fleet was badly damaged, but no ships had been destroyed. The Thunderchild had some minor damage to its shields, but was otherwise unharmed. Tai Yong looked out at the Thunderchild from his crippled ship. He couldn't believe what he had seen. "How can one ship be so powerful?" he asked his crew. No one had an answer. On Galactic Central, scientists were analyzing data from the battle. What they found shocked them. "High Counselor," one scientist reported, "the human ship. It's not using any technology we know. Their weapons, their defenses, even the way they move through space. It's all new to us." HFY felt a chill go down her spine. The Galactic Council had thought they were the peak of civilization. But now, faced with the humans' power, she wasn't so sure. As both sides prepared for more talks, Su Jin looked at the stars outside her ship. She thought about Earth, so far away. She thought about the Council worlds, full of people so different from humans. And she wondered what would happen next. "We came to make friends," she said softly. "I hope we still can." But deep down, Su Jin knew things had changed. The peace and quiet of the Galactic Council was gone forever. A new age had begun, an age where humanity would play a big role. As repair crews worked on both sides and diplomats got ready for more talks, one thing was clear: the galaxy would never be the same again. The battle was over, but the real challenge was just beginning. High Counselor HFY knew she needed more information about these humans. She had an idea. "Bring me one of the human crew members," she ordered. "We need to talk face to face." On the Thunderchild, Commander Su Jin received the request. She thought for a moment, then called for Ensign Da Hyun, a young but smart officer. "Da Hyun," Su Jin said, "I'm sending you to meet with the alien leaders. Tell them about Earth, but be careful. Don't share any secret information." Da Hyun nodded, feeling nervous but excited. He boarded a small shuttle and flew to the alien station. In a large room on Galactic Central, HFY waited with other council members. When Da Hyun walked in, everyone stared. He looked so normal. They had expected something more alien. HFY stepped forward. "Welcome," she said. "We have many questions for you." Da-hyun bowed politely. I'll do my best to answer, High Counselor. For the next few hours, Jae-hwa and the others asked Da-hyun about Earth and humans. With each answer, they grew more amazed and worried. You say your people fought many wars? Jae-hwa asked, shocked. The council had been peaceful for so long, the idea of war was almost forgotten. Da-hyun nodded sadly. Yes, but we learned from our mistakes. That's why we developed so quickly. We had to. And your technology? Another council member asked. How did you advance so fast? Da-hyun smiled. Humans are very curious. We always want to learn more, to go further. It's in our nature. As Da-hyun talked, the council members had different reactions. Some were fascinated by humans. Others were scared. One council member, a scientist named Min-seo, was especially interested. Your ship, she said, it uses principles we've never seen before. How does it work? Da-hyun hesitated. He couldn't share that information. I'm sorry, he said, but some things must remain secret for now. This made some council members angry. See, one shouted. They don't trust us. They're dangerous. Jae-hwa raised her hand for quiet. She turned to Da-hyun. Young human, she said, your people are very powerful. How do we know you won't try to conquer us? Da-hyun looked surprised. Conquer you? Why would we do that? We came to make friends, to learn and share knowledge. His words were sincere, but not everyone believed him. The room filled with arguments. Some council members wanted to welcome the humans. Others wanted to fight them or run away. Jae-hwa listened to everyone. She could see that meeting the humans had changed everything. The old, comfortable way of the council was gone. Now they had to decide how to deal with this new, powerful race. As the arguments went on, Da-hyun stood quietly. He wished he could make them understand. Humans weren't perfect, but they had learned from their violent past. They really did want peace. Finally, Jae-hwa spoke. Thank you, Ensign Da-hyun, she said. You've given us much to think about. Please return to your ship. We'll contact you soon with our decision. As Da-hyun left, Jae-hwa looked at the divided council. She knew the next few days would be crucial. The choices they made would shape the future of the entire galaxy. On the shuttle ride back to the Thunderchild, Da-hyun thought about the council members' reactions. Some had been friendly, others hostile. He hoped the friendly ones would win out. When he got back, Commander Soo-jin was waiting. How did it go? She asked. Da-hyun sighed. It's hard to say, Commander. They're amazed by us, but also scared. I think we shook up their whole way of life just by showing up. Soo-jin nodded. She had expected something like this. Well, she said, all we can do now is wait and hope. The ball is in their court. As both sides prepared for the council's decision, tension filled the air. The humans waited on their powerful ship. The council argued in their grand chambers. And all around them, the stars shone on, unaware that the balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted forever. 3 days had passed since the battle and the meeting with Ensign Da-hyun. The Galactic Council had been in non-stop talks. Now, it was time to make a decision. High Counselor Jae-hwa called for a final vote. Representatives from every council world gathered in the Great Hall. The air was thick with tension. Jae-hwa stood at the front of the room. She looked tired but determined. Friends, she said, we face the biggest choice in our history. Do we welcome these humans, or do we push them away? The room was silent. Everyone knew how important this moment was. Jae-hwa continued, we've seen their power. We've heard their words. Now we must decide. Are they a threat or an opportunity? One by one, representatives stood to speak. Some were still afraid of the humans. They're too dangerous, one said. We should tell them to leave and never come back. Others saw things differently. Think of what we could learn from them. Another rep said, yes, they're powerful, but they haven't tried to hurt us. We should give them a chance. The debate went on for hours. Jaehwa listened to everyone, thinking hard about each point. Meanwhile, on the Thunderchild, Commander Su Jin and her crew waited nervously. They had no idea what the council would decide. "What if they tell us to leave?" Ensign Dahyun asked. "What will we do?" Su Jin sighed. "We'll cross that bridge if we come to it," she said. "For now, we wait." Back in the council chamber, it was time to vote. Jaehwa asked each representative to choose, welcome the humans or send them away. The votes were close, very close. In the end, it came down to Jaehwa herself to break the tie. She stood silent for a long moment, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. Then she spoke. "We will welcome the humans," she said firmly. "Yes, they are different. Yes, they may be dangerous, but they are also full of potential. We cannot let fear rule us. We must be brave and reach out to them." Some council members cheered. Others looked worried. But the decision was made. Jaehwa turned to her aides. "Send a message to the human ship," she said. "Invite Commander Su Jin to meet with us in person. It's time we talked face to face." On the Thunderchild, Su Jin received the message. She felt a mix of relief and excitement. "Prepare a shuttle," she told her crew. "I'm going down to meet them." As Su Jin's shuttle flew towards Galactic Central, she thought about everything that had happened. The surprise of first contact, the misunderstanding that led to battle, the fear and curiosity on both sides. Now, finally, a chance for real talk. In the council chamber, Jaehwa waited nervously. When Su Jin walked in, everyone went quiet. This was the moment that would shape the future. Jaehwa stepped forward and held out her hand. Su Jin looked at it for a moment, then reached out and shook it. "Welcome, Commander Su Jin," Jaehwa said. "We have much to discuss." Su Jin nodded. "Yes, we do," she said. "Thank you for giving us this chance." For the next few hours, Su Jin and Jaehwa talked. They spoke of their worlds, their hopes, and their fears. Slowly, the tension in the room began to fade. By the end of the meeting, both sides had agreed to start formal relations. There would be more talks, more meetings. It wouldn't be easy, but it was a start. As Su Jin prepared to leave, Jaehwa had one more thing to say. "Commander," she said, "your arrival has changed everything for us. Our council will never be the same." Su Jin nodded. "Change isn't always easy," she said, "but sometimes it's necessary. I hope we can build something good together." As Su Jin's shuttle flew back to the Thunderchild, she looked out at the stars. She thought about Earth, so far away, and all the new worlds she had seen. The galaxy was bigger and more complex than humans had ever imagined. But now, humans were part of it. They had a place at the galactic table. What would happen next? Only time would tell. On Galactic Central, Jaehwa watched the human shuttle leave. She knew the old, comfortable days of the council were over. A new age was beginning. An age of humans and aliens working together, learning from each other. It would be challenging. It would be exciting. And it all started with one surprising encounter between a human warship and a galactic civilization that thought it had seen everything. The universe, it seemed, still had plenty of surprises left.